We are counting down the 8 most terrifying deaths ever broadcast live to millions. From shocking sports collapses and fatal stunts, to on-air disasters and tragedies that changed television forever, each entry captures the moment when routine became a nightmare. No edits, no warnings, just raw, unfiltered reality. These are the incidents that forced networks to rethink safety and ethics on live television. Let us begin with number 8. March 11, 2003. Veteran sports commentator Michael Harrison, age 54, settled into the broadcast booth at Riverside Stadium for what should have been a routine baseball game. The network's primetime slot drew over 2 million viewers, many of whom had come to trust Harrison's calm, steady voice over decades on the air. The game unfolded as usual until 8:17 p.m., when Harrison's words began to falter mid-sentence. His partner glanced over, expecting a cough or a technical glitch, but Harrison's hands clutched the edge of the desk. For 38 seconds, the microphone captured only shallow, labored breaths and the faint sound of a chair scraping. The broadcast did not cut away. Listeners at home heard the moment his voice faded, replaced by confusion and then silence. In the control room, producers scrambled, unsure whether to intervene as the live feed continued to transmit the empty booth. Emergency medical staff arrived within minutes, but Harrison was pronounced dead on site. The cause was acute myocardial infarction. The network faced an outpouring of shock from viewers, many of whom had listened helplessly as the event unfolded in real time. In the weeks after, internal investigations reviewed production logs and response times. By May, the network introduced mandatory annual cardiac screenings for all on-air personnel, a policy quickly adopted across the industry. Harrison's death, though lacking graphic visuals, left a lasting psychological scar on those who heard it. It proved that even the most familiar broadcast could become a conduit for tragedy, and that no amount of routine could guarantee safety when the cameras and microphones never look away. July 4, 1994. Elena Cruz, aged 33, rolled her custom-built motorcycle to the edge of the launch ramp at Freedom Arena in Dallas. The event, billed as the centerpiece of a national pay-per-view special, had drawn more than 6 million viewers. Cruz was a veteran stunt performer with a flawless safety record, known for her precise technique and nerves of steel. At 9:02 p.m., cameras locked in from 5 angles as she accelerated toward a 78-foot gap, aiming to clear a wall of fireworks and land on a distant platform. 7 seconds into the run, a sharp metallic snap echoed through the arena. The rear sprocket, later found to have a hidden fracture, sheared away from the axle. Live feeds caught the rear wheel spinning free as Cruz lost all drive and control mid-air. For a split second, she hovered above the gap, then plummeted, bike and body, straight down. The impact registered over 30,000 newtons, shattering the landing platform and sending debris in every direction. Cameras stayed on the scene as emergency crews rushed in, their frantic efforts broadcast for nearly 3 minutes before the network cut away. Cruz was pronounced dead at the scene from blunt force trauma. Rigging reports revealed a missed micro-crack during pre-show inspection, prompting immediate suspension of all similar stunts. Within months, a new National Oversight Board began certifying rigging for televised events. The footage, replayed in news cycles for days, fueled public debate about the ethics of live stunt broadcasting and set the standard for high-risk event regulation. May 9, 2010. Devin Lee, age 29, lined up his number 88 car on the grid at the Pacific Grand Prix, a technical circuit notorious for its high-speed S-curve and unforgiving concrete barriers. Lee was no stranger to pressure. His career boasted 5 podium finishes and a reputation for precision under fire. On lap 37, telemetry showed his car accelerating out of turn 6, hitting 214 miles per hour on the back straight. In-car cameras captured Lee's gloved hands steady at the wheel, his eyes flicking between the apex and the digital dash. At 1:47 p.m. local time, a sudden snap of oversteer sent the car veering left. Data logs later confirmed a 41G lateral spike as the vehicle struck the wall nearly head-on. The sound of carbon fiber shattering echoed through the live broadcast, which reached 14.2 million viewers worldwide. For over 2 minutes, cameras remained fixed on the crumpled chassis, smoke and debris clouding the track as emergency crews rushed in. Extraction took 4 minutes. Medical teams pronounced Lee dead at the scene, citing massive blunt force trauma and catastrophic internal injuries. The broadcast continued, replaying the crash from multiple angles while commentators struggled for words. In the aftermath, race organizers and networks faced intense scrutiny over the decision to air prolonged footage of the wreckage. Within weeks, governing bodies mandated a new onboard delay policy for all live motorsport feeds, giving directors the ability to cut away from future crashes before graphic images reached the audience. Lee's death, measured in raw data and broadcast in real time, forced the industry to confront the limits of spectacle and the responsibilities owed to both drivers and viewers. April 17, 2008. Dana Parks, age 41, was a seasoned news pilot and traffic reporter, logging over 2,000 hours in the air. At 6:14 in the morning, she lifted off in a Bell 206B Jet Ranger, callsign N215TV, for the daily multi-station traffic segment over downtown. 5 local affiliates shared the live feed, each overlaying their own graphics and anchors, but all relied on Parks for real-time updates from above. The air was calm, visibility clear, and the morning's first rush hour was just beginning to build. 12 minutes into the flight, at 1,200 feet, a red engine chip light illuminated on the instrument panel. Parks's voice, steady but clipped, reported a possible engine issue to air traffic control. Within seconds, the Jet Ranger began a rapid, uncontrolled descent, dropping at a rate of 1,200 feet per minute. All 5 stations continued broadcasting as the helicopter pitched forward, spinning slowly, the city skyline tilting in the background of the live feed. Parks's final transmission, "We are going down," was broadcast in real time, followed by a burst of static. The helicopter struck an empty lot beside the interstate, crumpling on impact. For nearly 2 minutes, the shared feed cycled between stunned anchors and live shots of the smoking wreckage. Emergency crews arrived, but both Parks and her camera operator were pronounced dead at the scene. NTSB investigators later found metallic debris in the engine oil system, a fault that had triggered the chip light. Maintenance logs revealed the last inspection had skipped a required filter change, an oversight that became central to the official report. The fallout reached beyond a single newsroom. Within months, the FAA mandated stricter maintenance documentation and new minimum inspection intervals for all news helicopters. The simultaneous broadcast across 5 networks meant the trauma was not just local, but citywide, a reminder that in live television, risk is not limited to the ground. May 22, 1999. Victor Hale, age 44, stood beside a cylindrical acrylic tank measuring 8 feet in diameter and filled with 1,600 gallons of water. The live broadcast was scheduled for prime Saturday night, and the show promised viewers the most ambitious escape of Hale's career. Decades of televised stunts had made him a household name. His calm precision and methodical preparation were as much a part of his reputation as the illusions themselves. That evening's challenge was a chained, padlocked submersion with only 1 minute of air supply and no backup diver in the tank. Cameras rolled as the clock hit 8:31 p.m. Hale, wrists and ankles secured, nodded once to the crew and slipped beneath the surface. For the first 90 seconds, his movements followed the familiar routine: testing each lock and methodically working through the sequence rehearsed dozens of times. At 8:33 p.m. and 18 seconds, a subtle change registered. Hale's legs kicked twice in quick succession, his hands fumbled at the third shackle, and a thin trail of bubbles escaped his lips. On-air graphics continued to count down. Viewers saw his face tense, eyes darting toward the tank rim. The struggle, at first almost imperceptible, became unmistakable as seconds ticked past. Paramedic logs later confirmed that at 8:34 p.m., Hale's heart entered arrhythmia, a condition undisclosed even to his closest crew. Oxygen deprivation compounded the hidden crisis. By 8:35 p.m. and 42 seconds, stagehands smashed the tank lid and hauled Hale's body out. The live feed lingered on the frantic resuscitation attempt for nearly 2 minutes before the network cut to black. Emergency teams worked for another 10 minutes off camera, but Hale was pronounced dead at the scene. The medical examiner's report cited acute cardiac arrhythmia triggered by immersion stress. In the aftermath, independent medical vetting became a mandatory step for televised danger acts, and networks introduced new protocols for on-set emergency response. The footage, replayed in news cycles and dissected by investigators, left a lasting imprint, not just for its spectacle, but for the prolonged, visible ordeal endured by both performer and audience. June 9, 1987. The Capitol press room was crowded with reporters, cameras, and the steady hum of live broadcast equipment. At precisely 11:02 in the morning, the scheduled briefing began, drawing a national audience of over 23 million viewers. 4 network cameras captured every angle as Senator Marisol Kent, age 52, stepped to the podium. Kent was a 2-term senator known for her sharp debating style and tireless advocacy on finance reform. The mood in the room was routine, but security logs later revealed that Capitol Police had received several anonymous threats in the weeks prior, none deemed credible enough to disrupt the event. As Kent addressed the assembled press, a figure moved forward from the third row. The first shot rang out, echoing through the marble hall. 3 more followed in rapid succession, each captured by a different camera. The live feed did not cut away. For nearly 8 seconds, the broadcast showed chaos, reporters diving for cover, security converging on the podium, Kent collapsing behind the lectern. The audio picked up screams, shouts for help, and the metallic clatter of the weapon falling to the floor. Viewers at home witnessed the senator's final moments, with no warning and no filter. Medical teams arrived within minutes, but the coroner's report would later state that Kent died almost instantly from a gunshot wound to the chest. The footage, replayed across networks and dissected in newsrooms, forced a reckoning not just with security failures, but with the ethics of live broadcasting. Internal memos from network standards departments documented frantic calls between control rooms and legal counsel as executives debated whether to suppress the footage or allow it to remain in the public record. In the aftermath, Congress held hearings on security protocols, while broadcasters nationwide instituted a mandatory 7-second delay for all live political events, a rule that remains in place today. For millions, the trauma was immediate and lasting, a national tragedy witnessed in real time. The event redefined the boundaries of live television and the responsibilities of those who operate within its reach. November 14, 2015. Brian Patel, age 27, stood beneath the glaring lights of the studio set, waiting for the next round of the hit game show Ultimate Challenge Live. The evening's broadcast had drawn 9.8 million viewers, all tuned in to watch everyday contestants tackle elaborate physical obstacles for a shot at the grand prize. Patel, a software engineer from Houston, had cleared the first 2 rounds with quiet determination. At 7:43 p.m., he stepped onto the rotating platform, a challenge that required balance and quick reflexes. The host's countdown echoed through the studio as Patel lunged forward, arms outstretched. Midway through the rotation, his stride faltered. He stumbled, then collapsed, face first onto the padded surface. For several seconds, the control room assumed he had slipped as part of the act. The cameras lingered, capturing the puzzled reactions of fellow contestants and the host's forced banter. Only when Patel failed to rise did concern ripple through the studio. On air, the moment stretched uncomfortably, and viewers at home watched as stagehands hesitated, unsure whether to intervene. According to production logs, 1 minute and 52 seconds passed before the floor director signaled for medical assistance. The show's live feed continued, panning awkwardly between the challenge set and the silent contestant. When paramedics reached Patel, his pulse was faint. CPR began at 7:45 p.m., but the emergency response had already been delayed by confusion in the control room. Later review of his medical screening forms revealed no known heart condition. An autopsy would later reveal an undiagnosed cardiac arrhythmia. Patel was pronounced dead at the hospital less than an hour later. The footage, replayed in news segments and dissected by industry analysts, exposed a critical gap in live event safety: the absence of immediate on-site medical professionals and the risks of misreading a life-threatening emergency as part of the show. In the months that followed, networks instituted new mandates. Every live competition would now require certified medical staff on set, and contestant health screenings became more rigorous. For viewers, the shock lingered. The realization that an ordinary person chasing a moment of televised excitement could die on air while millions watched, powerless to help. September 2nd, 2004 at 7:12 a.m., Casey Lynn, 36, stood at the edge of a battered coastal highway, wind roaring past as Hurricane Francis lashed the shoreline. Lynn was a seasoned field meteorologist with more than a decade of storm coverage, live on air, relaying wind speeds and evacuation updates to a national audience. The broadcast was carried by 4 major networks and reached nearly 19 million viewers that morning. Lynn had positioned himself in what was assessed as a safe zone just beyond the main storm surge, with a reinforced camera mount and a protective crew nearby. Weather logs recorded a sustained wind of 54 miles per hour, with gusts peaking at 62 miles per hour. The report was presented as a live field update. As Lynn delivered the latest update, the camera captured a sudden shift in the wind's howl. A 12-pound fragment of metal sign, pried loose by the gusts, spun across the frame, too fast for any warning, too unpredictable for even the most experienced storm chaser to anticipate. The impact struck Lynn at the base of the skull. He collapsed instantly, the microphone broadcasting a sharp metallic clang, followed by the stunned silence of the crew. The live feed continued for nearly 30 seconds, showing emergency responders rushing into frame before producers cut away to the studio. Paramedics on scene could only confirm what the camera had already implied. Death was instantaneous, caused by massive blunt force trauma. Network logs documented the exact moment of impact, and frame-by-frame analysis later reconstructed the sequence in chilling detail. The footage, replayed in newsrooms and safety briefings, became an unintentional case study in the risks of live field reporting. Viewer hotlines and online forums filled with shock and distress as millions processed the reality of witnessing a fatal accident in real time. In the weeks that followed, industry regulators convened emergency sessions. By October, new safety protocols were adopted nationwide, mandating remote-controlled cameras for all severe weather coverage and barring reporters from exposed outdoor locations during active storm events. Internal memos from network standards departments cited Lynn's death as the catalyst for sweeping changes, policies designed to prevent any broadcaster from facing the same fate. The legacy of that morning endures in every storm warning that now airs from a safe distance, a silent acknowledgement of the risks that once went unseen until the camera captured the unthinkable. Safety remains the guiding principle in field reporting for severe weather. Across all 8 entries, one truth emerges. Live television transforms private tragedy into a shared, inescapable reality. When death unfolds on air, millions become witnesses, and broadcasters confront new ethical frontiers in real time. These moments force the industry to evolve, implementing delays, safety protocols, and hard limits on what the public should see. In the end, live television reminds us that reality does not pause for the camera. Thanks for joining us. Share your thoughts below.